Yo, 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 yo! What's up, all you burners, stoners, and potheads? This is Weedman 420 with the Weedman 420 Chronicles. How are all you vipers doing out there? Mrs Weedman.
Mr. Weedman.
How the hell are you?
Excellent.
Excellent?
How are you? Yeah.
I'm doing great.
Yeah.
You know why? Well rested, had 4 days off from work. It was the holidays, and I was dazed up like a fucking madman for 4 days straight. The best day out of those 4 days was Monday, because I didn't do anything.
You had an actual day
I
off.
actually had a day off.
Although on Sunday, you're like, all right, tomorrow I'm going to do da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and then 2 o'clock and 4 o'clock and 6 o'clock.
And
I
do you
got
know what
this.
happened?
And I was like, stop it.
Do you know what happened?
What happened?
Big Earl stopped by with some phenomenal weed. And
Yeah.
We got baked, and I couldn't do shit for 4 hours. I just sat on the couch and watched movies.
Yeah. Thank you, Big Earl. He needed that.
Hell yeah, it was great. He texted me on the way home going, dude, I don't know what happened with that Ursula Berry. The curing some went wrong. That shit whacked me. And this was his grow.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yo, we had that in the 8 decades jars, which actually I think cure stuff a little bit better. So from what I was reading about them and stuff like that, and because of the ultraviolet red rays it brings in, it cures stuff better.
Yeah.
And plus it keeps it airtight. It's sealed. There's no light getting in there. It's dope as hell.
Yeah.
So I was baked. He was baked.
Oh, so that wasn't his stash that he brought with?
No, that was
Oh,
the,
that was
was
the
the
sta-
one
we
that
already
was,
had.
That's the one he brought last time.
Oh.
Yeah.
He wondered what the heck we gave him.
Yes. Yeah. He was asking me, he's like, the curing, something fucked up with it. I'm like, no, it didn't, man. I was fucking baked, which we're going to do right now.
Right.
And we're smoking another strain because Big Earl stopped by and dropped me off another strain. And we are smoking. He actually dropped me off 4 strains that we're going to smoke for the next 4 shows. But this one is Acai BX2.
Acai.
Yes.
BX2.
Yes.
We
I
won't
don't know what
screw
the-
it up like the. What are we? We really screwed up on the last episode because I didn't read what the name was, and you said it was the orangutan's name, and then
It
I
wasn't
thought it was
orangutan.
hombre.
It wasn't an
or
orangutan.
the gorilla.
It was the gorilla.
And I thought it was an hombre, but it was
Hombre.
no
Hombre. Humbre.
Harambe.
Harambe.
We were so far off, and I was like, no, Mr. Weedman, pronounce it right. It's hombre.
Yeah, you made me pronounce it wrong.
Hombre the gorilla.
And you said orangutan 2 minutes ago. And we're not even stoned yet. We actually have a couple of guests in the house.
Yes, we have a live studio audience for the first time. Hear the
our
giggles?
2 nieces wanted to come and see the show.
They're home from college
Yes.
for the week
Yes.
and
They were-
hanging out.
They're smoking out of the Zenko. I
Yes.
gave them a fresh dab, a fresh dab out of the Zenko, so they're super stony.
You'll
baloney
probably
right
hear
now.
some giggles, extra
Yes.
giggles.
And we're
There they
about
are.
to smoke, so they got the smoke ready. Let's smoke.
Okay.
So while you smoke, I'll read about the strain.
You do that.
So acai is basically this, man, this is a really good strain. It's packed full of like just really good terps, and the flavor you're going to have to tell me about if you could taste it. I know your taste buds are off, but it's tropical, lightly sour. It packs a super sweet, fruity berry flavor. You'll feel the feelings you'll get from this is an influx of cerebral energy, sending your mental state flying high with focused creativity that lends itself well to any task at hand. This is accompanied by a notable boost in your spirits, which pushes out any negativity or racing thoughts and leaves you able to focus on what you need to get done.
Can I just have an IV of this?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So THC levels range between like 15 to 24%. It's perfect for treating those who suffer from conditions such as chronic pain, migraines, headaches, chronic fatigue, depression, and mood swings. I know some people that might need that for their mood swings, damn it. I didn't say
Are you implying?
I did not imply you at all. This bud is purpley nurpley. It's got some great hairs and coating of tiny amber crystal trichomes. And I showed a picture of this, 2 pictures of this today on social media. Big Earl, highly, highly recommend like this strain, Big Earl. This is like phenomenal.
Was this the jar that had the really like kind of different looking buds
Yes,
in it?
yes,
Oh my
real
gosh.
long,
They're purple.
yeah.
The buds were kind of long, almost like on a basil plant, like when a basil plant is left to grow too long and it starts to flower and it gets more of like a I know that a weed bud is kind of pointed, like teardrop shape, but these are more like a cone. I don't know. They're just. It was a different looking bud.
I haven't seen no shit like
it was
that before.
purple. It was super
Yeah,
crystally.
it was nice.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. Like
I tasted berry.
you did.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful.
Yep.
I'm glad. I'm
Pretty
waiting to
good.
see. I want the effects. Everything I've read, I want it all.
I want all of
give
it.
it all of it. Give it me all of it. I want a bunch of it. So
Gimme.
how we had a great holiday weekend though.
We did.
And no matter what you celebrate, we said there was 20 different holidays in the month of December. Whatever you celebrate, that's great. We love you. We celebrate Christmas. It was also Hanukkah, and Kwanzaa was Monday. Today's Tuesday. So happy holidays, happy Kwanzaa, happy Hanukkah, happy Merry Christmas, and all the other 17 holidays that go on in December. But we celebrated Christmas, and I cooked gravy. And if you not brown gravy, this is Italian gravy. This is red gravy with
Spaghetti
meatballs,
sauce.
spaghetti sauce with
Spaghetti.
meatballs and sausage and spaghetti, and we had a great dinner on Christmas Eve.
Oh, it was
And
amazing.
then Christmas Day, your mom served a great meal also. For all you non-meat eaters, sorry, but she served standing rib roast and lamb, and both
Leg of
were
lamb.
leg of lamb, and they were both phenomenal.
Yeah.
And it was delicious, potatoes and all the good stuff. So we had a lot of fun. But the one thing we did Christmas was we got everybody high on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. Mr. Weedman came strong, but the Christmas Day bud
Yeah.
was the Ursula berry. That also came from Big Earl.
Mm-hmm.
That was
Thanks,
another.
Big Earl.
Yeah.
I thought that my mom's house had a like a skylight at 10 o'clock at night that was blinding me. It just happened to be the puck lighting.
I actually had to leave upstairs for a little bit
I
because
couldn't-
all you and your sisters and cousins and
we were
nieces,
too much.
all the guys went downstairs,
Yeah, we're a pretty girl heavy crowd,
which is great.
and we get really like
there's only so
really
much-
nonsensy, like silly.
There's
Yeah.
only so much that
that you
I
can tolerate.
Yeah, and not even just tolerate. I laugh at some of it, and then there's like I was too high, and I was like I wasn't there. I mean, I was baked,
Yeah.
and I was like I'm just gonna make my way down to the basement, and I did, and then 4 other people followed me, going, "Oh, this is where you're at." I'm like, I know where to go. I've been in the family 28 years. I know when it's time to make my way, and no one will even notice I'm gone.
Right.
You just go a little quietly. But awesome holidays. It was so nice and refreshing to be with friends and family and loved ones. It was awesome. Food was great. Drinks were great. The weed was especially fine. Would you say?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was great.
It was-
So
yeah, it was great.
now we got New Year's coming up.
We do.
We do. And we're going to go out this year for the first time in a hot minute because the last couple of years was COVID. So we're going out. So if you want to come and find us, we'll be at Rock Island Public House in Blue Island hanging out, Mr.
Yeah.
and Mrs. Weedman. So come and we'll get you baked if you come find us. So we'll be hanging out there on New Year's Eve. I'm pretty excited to go out this year and get everybody smoked out baked. Maybe we'll make some edibles.
Bring them along.
Yeah, we've been known to do that 2, 3, 4 times.
It happens.
Yeah. So that's where we'll be hanging out, and I'm super stoked for 2023. How about you, Ms. Weedman?
Yeah, I'm ready for it.
You ready for it?
Yeah. 2022 is a weird year.
It was very slow.
It's a very weird year. I'm ready for another year.
But that's what you said about 2021, and that's what you said about 2020.
I've
It's
probably
2020.
said that for the last 20 years. It's all fucking weird. Life is fucking weird. What the fuck, man?
On that note, you ready to get the show started,
Yeah.
Mrs. Weedman?
I want to be just like hanging out up above. I want to be like a fly on the window. I'm really high.
Already?
Like, I don't even know what I'm talking about.
That's good.
Where
It's all
was
right.
I? Was it on
You're
Christmas
right here.
Day that I just didn't even know what I was talking about too?
That was Christmas
I just
Day,
kept- I was-
Christmas Eve.
Christmas Day, though, when you said we smoked and it was like next level weed, it really was because it was probably 2 hours later that I was sitting on the couch with all of these adults and we're all having a nice discussion. And the light, the ceiling mounted light, really had me thinking there was a skylight and it was the middle of the afternoon. I was like, oh my gosh, the sun is blinding me. And then everybody looked at me like, oh, Susan, you okay? Oh, Mrs. Weedman, you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm good. There were little moments like that. They'd just kind of pop out of nowhere. And I was
That
like,
weed
oh,
was
boy.
fire. Just like this acai's fire, man.
Yeah, but the people
I'm
who
seeing
didn't
cockeyed.
smoke were like, Oh,
Well, that's why I went to the basement
Yeah.
too, because there was a lot of people around us that didn't smoke.
Yeah.
So wouldn't have understood my humor at that moment. So I went
Yeah.
to the downstairs basement, had a great time.
Yeah. Smart move.
So let's get the
Well
show
played.
started.
Yeah.
A year in review, a new weed world, a promise of justice and uncertainties for pot OGs. On October 6th, President Joe Biden made history when he pardoned thousands of Americans convicted of cannabis possession under federal law. We went over that. The pardon will help people who have been barred from employment, federal grants, and federal housing, and those who have been denied admissions to colleges. Biden also said the White House would decide whether or not to continue classify cannabis as a heroin-type Schedule I drug, a legacy of Richard Nixon and the war on drugs. The current enforcement of anti-cannabis laws, unacceptably, he suggested. While white and black and brown use cannabis at similar rates, Biden said black and brown are arrested, prosecuted, and convicted at disproportionately higher rates. The policy has been called the new Jim Crow. In California, Illinois, and other states, tens of thousands of cannabis convictions have already been expunged. Still on federal level, a new day has finally dawned. Also, other states now are following suit, too. So you see some newer states. Like we just read about Connecticut, and we just read about Oregon, too. So they're releasing a lot of prisoners since Biden said, governors, let them out. So every year for a couple of decades, I grew cannabis without a permit and wondered why everyone didn't grow it. This is the author. Now that I live in an not Joe Biden. Now that I live in an apartment with a small backyard, I understand why many Californians would rather buy cannabis from a dealer or a dispensary than cultivate and harvest themselves. Still, there's a pleasure of growing your own. In 4 months, sun-soaked female plants can be 6 feet tall, beautiful to behold, and are aromatic too. But growing weed takes time, patience, passion, and a green thumb. I agree with passion, patience, time, and yes, you have to have somewhat of a green thumb. You could fuck it up pretty bad and still get some bud out of it. Just ask T or Tech. Plus, a thief might rip off the plants as they reach maturity. Also, unless you know the origin of the seeds, the phenotypes, genotypes, you might find yourself dope that doesn't have the desired effects. These days, sales folks at dispensaries are much savvier about THC, CBD strains, and terpenes than they were a short while ago. They can help buyers find the product that's right for each individual body and mind. As a weed reporter, I receive free samples. I try them and I like some better than others. Tinctures more than gummies. I recommend Care by Design for potent, fast-acting, full-spectrum drops. And the only reason why I gave them a plug, I've never tried them because he recommended drops. And we don't give drops a lot of talk about. I mean, I hardly tinctures. Yeah, I hardly ever talk about buying any of that. It's been a long time because every time
that was kind of a trend early in the Illinois legal market.
Yeah.
Was the tinctures drops that you could almost like those Mio drops that you'd put in your bottled water. Right. They had the tincture
it's
drops
just not,
and
it's,
beverages.
Some people like them because they can't smoke. If you can't smoke cannabis, tinctures are great. But I gave them a plug because he recommended it, and he said it actually 1 drop under the tongue will stone you. And it's 100 and 100. It's a 1-to-1. So that's what I like. I rather do the 1-to-1 than just CBD drops. So, okay, Joe, as he's known in the trade, gives me 4 or 5 joints at a time when he visits. He's strictly traditional market. He got his start in the biz by selling joints on urban street corners. Joe tells me if someone says in Santa Cruz or San Francisco wants to score weed and doesn't have a connection, they could go to the park or bar where hippies hang out, but that's dicey. They might get ripped off. I know OK Joe grows without toxic chemicals, and while I'd rather not smoke weed, I'm an OG, and old habits die hard. So I go on smoking and not eating or using gummies. The state of California aims to abolish the traditional market and liquidate criminal and outlaw growers, but that won't happen soon. There's too much money at stake, and growers are unlikely to change soon. Everyone should have an OK Joe in his, her, their life. Joe's a bit of a nutcase, but he generally means to help the sick. A loving husband with a Japanese-born wife and 2 kids, he has grown weed for decades, and as a grower has practiced civil disobedience Henry David Thoreau style, which means he stood and still stands outside the law, which he thinks is unjust and immoral. I agree. These days, year-round growers always need and want trimmers. As a trimmer, you have access to quality weed at fair prices. You also might get a contact high when you trim with other trimmers, like my 2 Mexican-born friends, Rosa and Paula. I trim with them again and again and again. Many, if not most of the growers I've interviewed from Santa Cruz to Santa Barbara and Santa Rosa who have permits and who sell to licensed dispensaries in the Golden State also sell on the traditional market. I would too. Fuck yeah. Or as they call it, out the back door. That seems to be a term I've been reading a lot lately. Growers and dealers like Joe don't get out of the biz until they're forced out by cops, judges, and their own aging bodies. A 30-something-year-old son of a friend is now doing time in federal prison because he shipped tons of weed out of state and laundered millions of dollars. Crime doesn't always pay. Pot farmers are still busted. I didn't grow in 2022. Last season's weed didn't look or smell good, and it didn't get me stoned. I gave almost all of it to a friend who helped me manicure the buds, so it was his payment to service perform. Joe grew in 2022, but he tells me it's not fun anymore. This is my last year. But Joe's been telling me this for years, so I don't believe him. Anyway, he's addicted to growing weed. He adds, if someone is really desperate for weed, they should get in touch with me, and I'll hook them up. So, I really like that article. It's just a perspective of a writer, but what he's dealt with in his time and doing and with cannabis. And, you know, I love growing weed. I've got a long history with weed. And I never said I would stop. I might have took a break, but that was the one thing I never said I would never not do. I never, like, people say I'll never smoke again, or I'll never drink again, or I'll never eat bad food again, or I'll never do this, and I've never said that about cannabis.
You never took a tolerance break? Or
I
felt
took
like
5 years off of everything. Remember when we
Right.
were personally training?
Right.
But I wanted to try to go like went totally everything, and that's when I was really thin and didn't do anything. But I never said I would stop smoking cannabis ever. It's like that never came out of my mouth.
You never felt the need.
Why?
Right.
There's angels in those wings, leaves. So here's something to consider: 20 questions. You like the game 20 questions, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
To determine if you're using cannabis safely.
All right.
Mrs. Weedman,
Yeah, my
tell us
article.
about it.
Yeah. So age is just one key factor in determining the risk of addiction. Most healthy adults who first used cannabis at age 18 or older never experienced significant problems from the drug. Safe use of cannabis can be defined in terms of avoiding both subtle lingering changes in brain function and addiction. Only around 9% of adults ever meet the criteria for cannabis use disorder at any point in their lives, compared to a 15.4% rate for alcohol. It is likely that even fewer cannabis users would experience any negative effects if public education about how to use cannabis safely was more widely offered. Unfortunately, adolescents who begin using cannabis while their brains are still developing are at a much higher risk of being negatively impacted by cannabis. 43% of those who start use at the age of 13 will experience cannabis use disorder at some point before they reach 30, although only 15% are still addicted at age 30. Most continue to be affected by disruptions to their education and psychological maturation. The younger someone is when they begin to use cannabis, the less likely it is that they will use it safely. Safe use of cannabis depends on not using high-concentration cannabis products, especially those low in CBD. Safety also depends upon giving the brain intervals of freedom from cannabis in order to reestablish its normal chemical balance. In other words, daily or nearly daily use is far less safe than frequent or less frequent use. An additional strategy for safe use is to understand the earliest warning signs that you are using too much or too often. Since every one of us has a unique brain with a unique set of sensitivities and resilience, no firm guideline can be given for how much cannabis is too much or what frequency of use is too often. Cannabis is not like Tylenol, where there's a clear upper limit that is established. With cannabis, each individual must learn their own safe limit. The following 20 questions and explanations may help you determine whether you've been using cannabis safely. Although you can test yourself without changing your cannabis use, the ideal test would follow a 1 to 2 week period of zero consumption. So here we go. When not using cannabis, do you, 1, experience nervousness or anxiety? 2, experience difficulty relaxing or feeling stressed. 3, experience irritability. 4, experience physical restlessness or fidgetiness. 5, experience boredom or difficulty staying interested in anything. 6, a reduced appetite, lower interest in eating. 7, insomnia. 8, repeated thoughts about cannabis. So this is when you are not using it. Have you had those thoughts? The first 8 questions are early warning signs that your cannabis use is continuing to have an impact well after the high has faded. 9 and 10 are do you use or do you need cannabis at night to get to sleep? Regarding 9 and 10, some people enjoy the reveries cannabis evokes before falling asleep. Some people are unable to sleep without cannabis. Some have an underlying sleep disorder, and some people diagnose themselves with a sleep disorder when cannabis use itself is causing insomnia. A proper medical evaluation may be in order. 11. Do you use cannabis in the morning to get going? Signs of withdrawal can occur when THC levels in the brain fall overnight. 12. So remember, this is signs that you might be misusing cannabis. 12. When you're not using cannabis, has your cannabis use caused unhappiness for your significant other? Too much cannabis use can blunt sensitivity to subtle emotional cues, which is often frustrating for family members and friends. What'd you say?
12.
What?
Has your cannabis use caused unhappiness for your... No, because we both smoke cannabis and we're always happy.
Right. 13. Have you lost or avoided any activities or friends because of your cannabis use? That's kind of a rough one because maybe they're just wrong people.
We lost more friends when we were in a multi-level marketing thing
than we did with cannabis.
We did with cannabis.
Well, for some people, cannabis use can become the central organizing principle in their life. So what they're saying is you're excluding people because maybe they don't partake. 14. Do you use cannabis alone? Social use greases interactions with others, while use alone is often for other psychological reasons. 15. Do you have more difficulty finding or remembering things when you're not high? Memory glitches are the most common complaint of heavy cannabis users, even when not high. 16. Have you ever hidden or minimized your cannabis use? If you're hiding the level of your cannabis use from others, or even yourself, you may have a problem. 17. Have you ever thought about cutting down or stopping your use? If you have thought of stopping, you might suspect a problem, or you might be getting ready to take action to work it out. 18. If you have ever chosen a period of abstinence, did you use cannabis before completing it?
What are you, a nun?
I know, right? If you did stop cannabis use as long as you had planned, this may mean you can no longer, or if you did not stop cannabis use as long as you had planned, this may mean that you can no longer control your use, although you probably fully rationalize starting again. 19. Have you ever driven high? And 20. Have you ever driven using both cannabis and alcohol? Well, we all know that that's just a bad choice. So there is no standard number of yes answers that grade your level of safety. Each person can assess for themselves the comfort with their answers. And if you didn't answer yes to any questions, well, then you don't have a problem. And I guess my takeaway from that is, there's not a ton of research, but there is enough research that they do say cannabis is not addiction causing. We've talked about it becoming more of like a habitual behavior rather than an addiction. It's just something that's part of your day. You enjoy it, but
isn't meditation habitual? Isn't going to the gym habitual?
Right.
Isn't walking or jogging or
I know,
riding
but
your
those
bike?
aren't classified as a consumption, a means of
Why?
consumption.
It gives you
for,
dopamine. You're consuming you're consuming fresh air. You're consuming the adrenaline rush.
Well,
you get.
here, so I'm just saying they're talking about overuse of it or misuse of it. There's recreational use and there's medical use, right? If you're using it medically, you should be trying to dial in your use to focus on your ailments that you're trying to treat.
100%.
So you should totally be
100%.
experimenting, asking questions, and finding strains that are going to help those ailments. And then being very conscious of how much consumption you need to make those ailments better for you, right? Or more workable, something that is a dose that allows you to function during the day and work and be productive, yet treat your symptoms of whatever ailment you have. If it's recreational, I mean, the point of recreation is to have a good time. So that's
Woohoo!
But there's people who, the old cliche stoner who just sits on a couch all day and gets stoned. I don't think that his cannabis use has anything to do with that. That's just he or she. It's just their personality.
1% of people that use
Right.
cannabis, maybe.
Right.
But they were already born lazy.
Right.
Just cannabis just enhanced
I think it is cool, though. I mean, I know, but I think that
laziness.
you can easily get into that kind of pattern of just consuming and not really thinking much about it. But if you really do put some, be a little more introspective about how you're using cannabis and how much you consume, and then consuming to reach a certain level, depending on what activity you're doing. So when you want to you're out on a Friday night and everybody's half in the bag and you just showed up to the party, well, you might want to get pretty stoned because you want to get on everyone's level. But if you want to work, you just want a little microdose. And then if you're kind of in this middle of the road kind of bad day, you still have shit to do, but you just want to have a little mental balance break, then it's kind of a medium. You're going to smoke a little bit between the microdose and the macrodose.
100%. What have you taught me? I almost said trained, but taught me.
Moderation, Mr. Weedman.
Thank you.
It is the key to life.
It is, and I just read an article
in everything you
do. I just read a book about moderation. I said, "Damn, that Mrs. Weedman was fucking right." Giving you props.
I think you have to work
a
little bit beyond.
It took me to my mid-40s to learn moderation.
Your work is probably your biggest, hardest thing to. You can't work in moderation because then you're just going to be working until you're 800 years old.
You can have
but
balance.
You balance. So when it comes to work, it's a work-life balance. But when it comes to lifestyle, consumption, habits, behaviors, what you do in a day, moderation is just my
Yeah, you trained me. I mean, taught me well.
Yes, young Jedi.
I'll be a Padawan for you any day, Mrs. Weedman.
Oh, thanks. I don't know what that is, but
it is the beginning stages of a Jedi training.
Yes, young Jedi.
Thank you.
Sure.
Cannabis industry takes on deadbeat dealers. Okay. All right. I've been seeing a lot and reading a lot in the cannabis industry that people aren't paying their fucking bills. You fucking corpo cannabis peeps out there and people that got in the cannabis industry that might have been in the fucking traditional market. Dude, let me tell you something. All right. I'm not even going to read this article because it doesn't matter. If you're buying cannabis and you're getting a 30-day fucking credit and you ain't paying it in 30 days, you fucked up your business to begin with. Because the old school way of doing things is if you don't have the fucking cash, you don't get fucking product. That's how it's done. But you all in this fucking corpo cannabis world, in this cannabis industry that's being legalized, are in debt, dying. The fucking traditional market is going to eat you up again. Home growers are going to eat you up again because you don't pay your fucking bills. You don't pay for the product you're buying. You have an issue. You have a money laundering issue. You can't borrow from banks. You had to do it the old-fashioned way, almost close to what the traditional market is, but you fucked up because you don't pay your bills because you don't know how to run a fucking business. That's why the traditional market's going to eat you alive in the next 20 years, okay? You're fucked. You fucked up. You lost. And you're going to expect all of these big corporations are going to come in and buy you out in the next 5-7 years or when it does go federally legal. But I think a lot of these major companies aren't going to be fooled like they were fooled about the craft beer industry when everyone was plugging their numbers up and showing it the second book, not the real book. They were showing you fake bloated numbers in the craft beer industry, and they're going to do it to you in the cannabis industry. And I don't give a flying fuck if anybody fucking cares in the corporate world that fucking wants to challenge me on this because I will eat you alive. And Mrs. Weedman, you know I know fucking dollars and cents, and you're all fucking it up. You fucked yourselves. You wrecked yourselves So fucking bad. You all better check yourselves. And that's all I got to say about that, Forrest Gump. The cannabis industry has a plastic waste problem. We didn't have a plastic waste problem in the traditional market because you give it to you in a fucking jar and bring back the jar and we'll fill it again. Or we give you in a brown paper bag, or what Mrs. Weedman did today. Would you put some weed in today and we gave it to somebody? A little
I made parchment paper envelopes. They were really cute.
biodegradable.
Yeah, I just couldn't put it in a baggie.
It doesn't matter. I couldn't either. And he only brought one jar. I'm like, dude, I have 4 strains for you to try. I told you, I only have 1 jar. I almost sold him on the 8 decades jars, but he's a good friend. He should have just said, I'll buy a couple. Anyway, so tell us, Mrs. Weedman, about the cannabis plastic waste problem, which we can't. I see. This is another thing. You know people in the fucking hemp industry. You work together. Have people process your fucking stems and your leaves and make fucking packaging for you. You have so much bio waste right now that you're not using properly. And I gave you an idea. The next person with the multi-million idea who's got the money to do it, there you go. Buy the fucking stems, buy the hemp, and fucking make plastic and sell back to these fucking jagoffs that don't know what the fuck they're doing. Anyway, Mrs. Weedman, tell us what it's about.
You're feisty.
Oh, this weed, I like it. I like it a lot.
Well, young weed boy, what do we call him?
Padawan? Oh, Polly.
No, Polly. That's it? We just call him...
Just Polly. Polly, our son. Yeah.
I thought we had a different name.
No, Polly.
I thought it was like...
Polly, Dovboy, T, Shoddy.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, anyway, our Polly... is very into environmental sciences and resources and all that stuff that is so great and important. And he forwarded on this article. Did you say this already?
No.
Okay, good.
Don't take another hit of that bullet put in front of you.
The cannabis industry has a plastic waste problem, and some are finding solutions. Back in 2019, I was having serious trouble sleeping. My prescribed pills were no longer working, so I experimented with cannabis. After seeing poor results with edibles, CBD oil, and CBD capsules, I decided to try smoking. After some hits and misses, I found a strain that worked. You can buy loose cannabis flower and pre-rolled joints, but they both require a plastic receptacle, which can range from a round container to a tube or a bag. My local store in Toronto, this is a Canadian article, my local store in Toronto suggested that when I was done, I could bring the tubes back to be recycled, so I did. But I recently discovered that my giant bag of doob tubes was just going in the trash. This month marks the beginning of the first phase of the federal government's move to ban single-use plastic. But this transition leaves a lot of unanswered questions for the cannabis industry, which is very much relying on one-and-done plastic. To start, Health Canada regulations don't allow consumers to reuse these containers, so they're often tossed into recycling bins. In some jurisdictions like Toronto, the black containers and doob tubes aren't recycled because optical sorters are unable to recognize the black plastic. Even the light-colored plastic is difficult to sort, as some packaging containers have up to 3 types of plastic within them, and so a lot goes into the garbage. Some of the plastic I was using back in 2019 may have been recyclable, and the Ontario Cannabis stores provided customers with a link to TerraCycle's cannabis recycling program, but the program is no longer in operation. Although cannabis was legalized on October 17th of 18 under the Federal Cannabis Act, the act never addressed environmental concerns. The Cannabis Act was written with a preponderance of focus on risk, not environmental risk, not sustainability risk, etc., but really risk that cannabis product would fall into the hands of kids, said George Smitherman, president and CEO of the Cannabis Council of Canada. The act that we operate under was written blind of the consideration of sustainability, which is rather odd, because it was an act of government that is at the same time very focused on these concerns. One research study from Toronto Metropolitan University estimates that between October of 18 and August of 19, so 1 year, just shy of, between 5.8 million and 6.4 million kilograms of plastic cannabis packaging ended up in Canadian landfills. That's disgusting. There are people who are tackling the problem. One of them is Corey Saban, founder and CEO of Rewaste, an Edmonton-based company that collects and reuses plastic waste, including that from the cannabis industry. He launched his business in 2020 and started off small, first by making coasters from compressed plastic bags and other items. That caught the interest of an employee at Value Buds, then called Nova Cannabis, and it snowballed from there. We're really seeing consumers pushing recycling reuse from the cannabis supply chain, Saban said. They want better options for recycling. As a result, Rewaste is now providing recycling services for about 250 cannabis retailers across Canada. Among the items Rewaste makes with the plastics are rolling trays, that's awesome, and display tables. Saban, who is collecting statistics on packaging, notes that cannabis packaging could be a lot smaller. For example, a flower in a round container takes up about 8% of the total volume, meaning 92% of that packaging is wasted space. But labeling regulations have forced the containers to be larger than they need to be and not reusable. Pretty stupid. Nova Scotia-based company Aqualitas is not only a sustainable cannabis grower, but it also uses reclaimed ocean plastic to produce packaging that is 100% recyclable.
Wow.
Products range from containers to bags and even glass products. We're looking to find a Health Canada compliant package that used reclaimed ocean materials, and we couldn't find any, said Aqualida's co-founder and CEO Myrna Gillis. So we actually started the project ourselves to manufacture sustainable packaging. Wow. That's pretty remarkable that they actually set up a manufacturing to make their own packaging. She said the operation has managed to remove 13,600 kilograms of plastic waste from the ocean.
That's awesome.
It took Aqualitas.
Had problems with that name, huh, Mrs Weedman?
Yeah, it took Aqualitas 2 years to get its ocean plastics containers to market. Why aren't they just recycling all the plastics within the cannabis industry? Now they're going to the ocean to get it, whatever. Sounds confusing.
It just ends up there anyway, so.
She acknowledges that not every company can afford to do this or is committed to it. But things may be changing. On November 23rd, the Ontario Cannabis Store released a discussion paper that provides recommendations to Health Canada's review of cannabis legislation. One recommendation is that the agency reconsider product packaging rules to create a more sustainable environmental footprint for the legal cannabis industry. Smitherman said he's hopeful. I think that the pressure will be there constantly on us as a sector to improve our performance in terms of sustainability.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Got to fix it. Thanks, Paulie, for that article.
Yeah, that was a good.
Yeah, you made it. Made it.
Made it.
The cannabis multi-state operator was the only one with solid profits in the last quarter. So as I've said, any cannabis company that's publicly traded, you can go on and you can go on and look at their numbers. You can look on their financials. Every quarter they come out with how much money they're making or not making, how much they're down, up, and all around. So among the companies with the highest revenue in the third quarter were Curaleaf Holdings at $339 million, followed by True Leaf Cannabis with $300 million. Similar range, Green Thumb Industries was $261 million. Verano was $228 million. Cresco Labs, $210. Okay, I have stocks in two of these companies up here. Three of these companies up here, and their stocks are dog shit right now. Dog shit. Fucking dog shit. And the only reason why I got stocks invested in cannabis companies is because I believe in that cannabis will go federally legal, and those stocks will eventually go up, and hopefully I make a little bit of money so I can retire one day and not work till I'm 90. I hope. So, let's see. Who else? Columbia Care, 132. AR Wellness, 119. Ascend Wellness Holdings, 111. Juicy Holdings, 72. TerraSend, 67. Acreage Holdings, 61.4. So, that's the kind of money they made just in the quarter revenue. Third quarter revenue. So that's a lot of money, and you can chastise me or beat me up because I got cannabis stocks, but I also have stocks in other things too. So not just cannabis stocks. I need to right. One of the things you need to do is have some hustles if you want to retire one day. Some stuff you do traditional market, and some stuff you do in what's still should be illegal because you're just fucking. You're not even real money. It's just like numbers.
What, stocks?
It's just so stupid. But I do it anyway because, like I said, I want to retire before I'm 90.
It's not stupid. You're just really high right
I'm
now.
stoned. Oh man, illicit cannabis undercutting legal market big time. Who's to blame? Ask Congress? No, because they don't give a shit. No one's filling their pockets enough in the cannabis industry to make it go fucking. Let's just be honest, to make it go fully federally legal yet. The cannabis industry is only about $1 million in lobbying. That's not enough. You need to get up there a little higher. Cannabis legalization will be on the ballot in Oklahoma in March. That's dope. Finally, because you need to legalize it because you're getting whooped up again with the traditional market just swarming Oklahoma. So you need to do something. You can't fix it. So you're done. Detroit finally clears legal hurdle, paving the way for its issuing recreational cannabis licenses. They were like, for Detroit was only med because there was so many lawsuits going on because people weren't getting licenses. Open it up. Give them it's a big city. 500 licenses.
The state is recreational.
Yeah.
But that city
did not go recreational
medical.
yet. So just medical. Finally, they're issuing some license. We'll see. We'll see what happens. New York is set to open first cannabis dispensary.
Yeah.
On the 29th. But here's the thing. You know what's dominating right now? The little bodegas. The little bodegas right now that they're busting. Like $14 million in illegal pot was busted in like the last couple of weeks.
And illegal?
Illegal bodegas selling cannabis. They're legal bodegas, but selling...
But they're... So a little produce stand has fresh flower behind the counter.
Fresh flower.
I would like a bushel of the prettiest purple flowers you have.
So... who knows? They're trying to shut them all down. It's never going to have to shut them all down, but whatever. We'll see what happens. But at least they're getting one legal with what? How many people are in New York? 20?
Just a few.
Yeah, a few million, 3 million more times 10.
Times 10.
Times 10. There you go. Safe banking failure. Who's to blame? And what's next for the cannabis industry? You're all fucking to blame. Every single fucking one of you are to blame. Not just one. You all suck. You all are to blame for the last 83 years of cannabis fucking harassment, beating up, throwing people in jail. You're all to blame. Harry Asslinger, it started with you, and actually it started with then fucking Nixon, and then Reagan, and everybody in between. The only one that fucking was kind of cool was Kennedy, that wanted some cannabis because he smoked it. So, I mean, that's about it. The rest of you all suck. You all lied. Clinton, you're a liar. Oh, I smoked weed and I didn't inhale. Fuck you. You're an idiot.
I was at a party. They were smoking. I wasn't.
Go blow toot your own horn.
So
I'm blaming all of you.
Monica?
I'm blaming all of
Monica?
you. Obama had his chance. Jimmy Carter had his chance. Trump had his chance. Biden, you have your chance, and you just keep on dangling the carrot. You're all to blame. You all suck. Next.
They're puppets.
Yes. 2023 cannabis industry predictions. Tell me about them.
That's me.
Yeah.
Let me get my glasses on. Hang on.
No more
2023. I'm ready for more. Cannabis industry predictions. This might be a little boring, but I think still as a consumer, it's pretty interesting. While Congress may have failed to deliver significant cannabis industry reforms as we close out the year, cannabis entrepreneurs, professionals, and experts already have their eyes and hearts set on 2023. In this third installment of the 2023 Cannabis Industry Prediction Series, we asked specialists in cannabis data, technology, employment, events, tourism, and industry operations for their expectations for the coming year. Data. Now, they gave a few. We'll put the link to this article. I would be here all night if I went through all of these
got about
people.
5 minutes. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, I need a few more than that. So we're going to go through...
420. That's what you got.
Cover this as quickly as I can. Data. Roy Bingham, co-founder and CEO of BDSA. The industry, according to Roy, will face
according to Garp or according to Roy?
Roy, Paul.
Oh, sorry, Mrs.
Mr.
Weedman. You're baked. She said all three of my names.
All of them.
All three of them.
It's all public knowledge. All right. The industry will face short-term headwinds in the form of supply, pricing, and regulatory challenges, but the long-term outlook remains strong. Short-term growth will primarily come from emerging markets both in the U.S. and globally, as mature markets in the western U.S. face stiff price pressure and continued illicit competition. Emerging markets present some of the best opportunities for growth in the industry. As the more mature markets see sales slow, consolidation, attrition of smaller brands, brands that embrace premiumization, portfolio price tiering, and highly differentiated offerings are expected to stay ahead of the pack and hold on. Employment and hiring. Megan Carvalho, National Campaign Coordinator for the Cannabis Workers Rising, a United Food and Commercial Workers International Union program.
That was a lot.
Mouthful.
That was very wordy.
Union. That's all that matters. Union rights for the cannabis trade. As Americans, this is her quote unquote, as America's largest cannabis union, the UFCW has spent nearly 2 decades leading the charge on advocating for workers in the emerging cannabis industry, and our efforts are only heating up. We've been front and center in legalization efforts, ensuring states prioritize the people who make the industry run, and that cannabis jobs are safe, good, and equitable. The coming year will be all about organizing. The national wave of union organizing is happening here in the cannabis industry, too. Kara Bradford, CEO and Chief Talent Officer of Viridian Staffing. This is same. She's saying 2023 is shaping up to be quite different from 2022 in cannabis employment. We've seen layoffs already starting, and this will likely continue with a number of equity investments declining and the cost of debt sharply up. As their ability to finance further growth becomes more challenging, and as we see a shift to an employer's market, cannabis companies are going to become more selective in their hiring. Events. Jen Tramaglino, CEO of Connect Hospitality. In Nevada, the new year will usher in the opening of legal cannabis consumption lounges. Yeah, that's so exciting. These new venues will host parties, performances, and educational events. For the first time ever in Las Vegas, ticketed events coupled with cannabis sales and consumption will be available to the public. Overall, in 2023, Connect anticipates brands to raise the bar on engaging event build-outs. We expect to curate a lot of custom fabrication and use of new technologies. We believe there will be a lot more wow coming in 2023. This other guy said with the economic slowdown, cannabis brands are going to have to get smarter on how they utilize their marketing dollars, forget billboards and antiquated forms of marketing.
Yeah, that's not cannabis.
Yeah. Operations. Kenneth Mason, CPA, MBA, CEO of Equibus, the cannabis accounting for good. He says there's a ton of long-term potential in cannabis. However, many companies are currently unprofitable. Some folks are being forced to close up shop because they don't have cash flow to survive long-term. Considering the broader economy, inflation, extraordinarily high taxes, and financing being down, the next 12 months are going to be very challenging for those who are not actively using their finances to budget, forecast cash flow, and incorporating a plan to put away cash for rainy days. Zachary Garipa, CEO of Order. 2023 will be all about access to financing and how companies are spending those funds. We don't need to hear about this, but they are struggling. Funding has become... Terms have become less favorable. Money has become less available. So it has been a challenge for these dispensaries and cultivation centers that are getting started and don't have the clientele yet to keep them afloat.
Oh, yeah, they're fucked.
They get taxed to death.
Yeah, they're fucked.
Yeah. All right. How about public relations? Kenneth Liu, founder and CEO of Chapter 2 Agency. It will be all about New York. This is an exciting one in 2023. Look out for big names, great retail, consumption lounges, cannabis cafes, high wattage celebrities, fashionable approaches, and lots of craziness surrounding this Empire State gold rush. The crisis in California cannabis will continue and begin to permeate other regions. Marketing that directly supports the perseverance of craft and heirloom cannabis, as well, continues to celebrate small farms, will be a major part of conversation next year. These efforts must encompass more than just donating a percentage of proceeds. This will manifest in cause-related, policy-changing efforts and creating supply chain to discover additional access points for this category.
Is that New York still?
Yeah,
Like Nas says, it's a New York state of mind right there.
that's right. This guy said, my prediction for cannabis PR and cannabis marketing for 2023 is that the largest media outlets in the U.S. will finally, this is very cool, will finally start covering cannabis more often. And in a way, this plant-based industry deserves. Because weed is now legal in the media capital of the world, aka New York City. And with that legality, which will see dispensaries opening as early as December 2022, right now, we will see the behemoth media organizations and ownership groups start cozying up to the idea of covering cannabis as the legal agriculture product and consumer packaged good that it is. This will be a very good thing for the industry as a whole, as we will all benefit from a deeper and more open-minded news and lifestyle coverage than what has come before. That was probably the best one. That was from Ricardo Baca, founder and CEO of Grasslands, a journalism-minded agency. And then we have supply chain. June Lee and Vince Ning, co-CEOs and co-founders of Cannabis. Market fluctuations will continue into 2023, from shifts in regulation like tax responsibilities that still don't resolve tax burdens the industry is responsible for. Without proper reform, cash flow disruptions may continue throughout the supply chain. We're hopeful that positive changes like eliminating the cultivation tax will bring support to cultivators so that they can operate more sustainably. Profitability is key, and as more states come online, we foresee operators leaning into geo-expansion rather than putting all their eggs into one basket. Tech, John Yang, CEO of Trees. Retailers in new markets like New York will need help getting up and running, and existing markets may continue to struggle, while the illicit market continues to thrive. And as consumer spending continues to trend downward in the face of economic struggles nationwide. Our data shows that consumers are buying as frequently as they used to, but average order spend is down 15% overall. So those are the trends for 2023. I think that the whole perspective on New York City going legal and there being a very big presence of cannabis that's going to happen between Times Square and all the news stations that take place right there, cannabis is going to be, whether people like it or not, it's going to be in the media. And then they're going to be doing more articles about it.
You're allowed to smoke it anywhere except for like federal places and like next to a school or a park.
Right.
Where
But
kids
I'm
are at.
saying, yes, it's going to become such a common part of culture within New York City that it's going to get news coverage.
It's going to get more. It already was a common.
But it's going to get more.
I mean, weed's been around in New York for a long time.
I know, but legal weed. So now the media
Right.
can talk about
I
it in a
know.
legal way.
Well,
And I bet there's going to be advocates that come on, and
Of
they're going to have
course.
this person and this person, and they're going to
oh,
talk.
yeah.
It's going to
Every talk
and
show.
it's good.
Morning talk show.
Positive media for cannabis
It's
is
gonna-
great.
Yep. But I also like negative media too.
What?
It brings popularity.
Oh. Okay.
International news. Next frontier in cannabis is going to be Asia. Asia is beginning to warm up to the use of cannabis. Thailand legalized it, even though they're trying to change some stuff right now, but they're legalized it for cultivation in home. South Korea, Japan, Malaysia are paving the way for pharmaceutical applications. The weed market estimated to be a $100 billion industry by 2026, according to research firm Prohibition Partners. That's pretty good. So,
In Asia?
yeah.
Oh.
And China is a question mark, so we'll see. But you have some big players right now making some big moves, and it's going to be huge. So, I mean, it's a lot of population in all of Asia. So, I mean, it's going to be crazy. Cannabis for Tourette syndrome. Significant improvement in quality of life finds Israel study. Usually I give you these, but it was international news. So patients who consume cannabis products report significant improvements in the quality of life and often reduce their intake of prescription medicines, according to data published in the Journal of Cannabis and Cannabinoid Research, reported normal. Pretty good. So go to their website and read about it. It's awesome. Go Cannabis. Another win. Yay, Cannabis. What's one of my songs?
Because I got high.
I was gonna go to work until I got high. So, our man. Who's our man?
Because I got high. Because I got high.
Who's running for president in 2024?
Afro Man.
Hell yeah, let's go.
Afro Man announces his 2024 run for president. Hip-hop artist and cannabis community icon Afro Man announced over the weekend that he is running for the president of the United States in 2024. Afro Man, who became a hero of the weed crowd with his song, Because I Got High, Because I Got High. Is
that how he actually sung it?
No, not at all. Don't listen to me. Just go find it on Spotify. That song was released back in 2000. And he has announced his bid for the White House on Sunday during a concert performance at the Black River Coliseum in Poplar Bluff, Missouri, according to a report from TMZ. 2 days later, he took to social media to spread his message to a broader audience. My fellow Americans, there comes a time in the course of human events when change must be effected, Afro Man wrote on Instagram on Tuesday. That time is now. Americans are suffering, and the status quo is no longer acceptable. Inflation is out of control. The economy is in shambles. The housing market is staggering. Politicians are corrupt. Bad apples are allowed to remain in law enforcement and amongst our noble and brave officers. It is my immense honor and pleasure to formally announce Afro Man himself as an independent candidate for president of the United States of America.
He's got my vote. And you know who else is running?
Who?
Yee is running 2024.
Wow.
But he's running. You got Trump.
Well, basically, if you have money, you can run too.
Yes, but we don't know who else is running. I don't know if Biden's running or not.
Oh, I hope not.
We don't know. But it'd be really cool to watch a debate with Trump, Afro Man,
oh my God,
Yee, and Joe Biden. Unfucking believable. I'd pay to watch that. The laughs I would get and how baked I would
like
get.
A Comedy Central skit.
It'd be amazing. Imagine if you had the four of them on stage and you had a Republican, an independent, and a Democrat all up there.
Radical.
I would fucking pay. I'd
It'd be
pay.
funny.
Actually, I would steal it to watch it on a pay-per-view.
Even if there's just there's one debate and those two, the independents go off. And
who cares? It'd be great. There'd be weed on stage and everything. Oh my
gosh.
gosh! You have a president now that wants to kill all. If you deal drugs, you're gonna die. You have Afro Man who got high because he got high. Okay. Then you have Yee who's out there right now, but some shit he says makes you think, and some shit he's out there. Just depends on what day you got him out. And then you got fucking Joe. I don't remember what day it is right now. Oh my goodness! I would pay to see that debate. Oh.
I think you would not be alone.
It'd probably be the most watched pay-per-view of all time. Oh my gosh, it'd be great. So it is New Year's. 2023 is coming upon us. Goodbye 2022. But New Year's resolutions, 5 things stoners, burners, and potheads need to leave in 2022. So since 2023 is right around the corner in a couple days here, here's some things. Congratulations, weed community. You almost made it to 2023. Here's to another year of normalizing cannabis use. Stopping the stigma. I threw that in there. As legalization and decriminalization continue unfolding worldwide, more people are looking to cannabis than ever before. The beautiful thing about our favorite plant is the versatility and effective therapeutic properties. There's angels in those leaves. It allows consumers and patients far and wide to find their relief, bliss, and comfort in a natural plant without experiencing hangovers or the typical side effects of pharmaceuticals. As cannabis consumers in 2023, it's our job to lead by example and change how society views the plant. Hence, Weedman 420 Chronicles. If you don't have a New Year's resolution written down just yet, well, help you out. Here's 5 things. This is the author. Stoners, boners, and potheads should, and vipers, especially vipers.
Did you say stoners, boners, and potheads?
Possibly came out of my mouth. Stoners, burners, and potheads, and vipers.
And boners.
And boners, too. I like them. I like a boner every now and then. Ancient accessories. Dime bags are not the vibe. Nor are stained bowl pieces with gunk that's turned to cement. That's clean your shit. I've been saying that for years. Serious questions. How do you expect others to take your cannabis consumption seriously when you're stuck in this says 99? All right. With ancient accessories that don't reflect how far our industry has come.
Gets them 8 decades.
There you go. And we're not telling you to spend an arm and a leg either. Contemporary cannabis accessories are not scarce in the United States. Even better, they're legal and can be delivered right to your door. We encourage you to look into new accessories and lead by example by taking pride in every part of your consumption routine.
8 decades.
Not willing to change your routine? That brings us to the next resolution. An unwillingness to switch up your consumption routine keeps you from exploring the different ways we can ingest cannabis. If you've been smoking for years, now it's better time than ever to try your hand on vaping and using edibles. After all, smoking weed is becoming the least preferred method of consumption. Stop.
No, it's still my favorite.
Still my favorite. It'll always be my favorite. I like edibles. They have their place. Some people edibles don't get them high at all. I watched a girl eat 500 milligrams and it didn't even hit her.
Ugh.
Not at all.
Did you talk to her like 3 hours later?
She was fine.
Yeah.
She was smoking a joint with us.
Whoa, boy.
Yeah, somebody I work with. She was edibles. I'm going to prove it to y'all. Edibles. She ate 500 milligrams. She was, I've eaten 1,000 before. I was like, wow. So, smoking will always be that person's favorite. So, we're also not telling you to quit smoking, but experience different ways to use cannabis helps lower your tolerance, induces you to new effects, and keeps things exciting. Dirty bongs or smokeware. We've been talking about this for a while. Clean your fucking bong. Clean your bowls. Just do it, please. Do not leave older water than 24 hours in your bong. Replace it. Mildew, mold.
Ugh, the smell.
Please, just clean your shit. Once a week at least. Change the water every day, please. My 2 friends that are listening, our nieces, are laughing because they don't
giggling.
clean their shit.
Mm-hmm. You got dirty bongs?
Dirty bongs. Making weed your personality.
Make what?
Weed your personality. It is our personality.
Oh, yeah.
It's all we talk about.
Yeah.
It lives, breathes. I'm Weedman 420. It's my personality. My 3rd one. I have 3. I love weed, and so do you. But for the love of cannabis, gods, don't make it your entire personality. People quickly get bored on the person who only talks about weed. I talk about weed a lot. So, sorry. But I also talk about a lot of other things. But
Yes,
I do
you
talk
do.
about weed a lot.
You do.
I do.
Both.
We
I'm
get
agreeing
it.
to both.
You had a huge bong rip before you showed up to the event. Yeah. So, while there's no problem mentioning it, especially if you are talking to people who like weed, bragging about your high tolerance, and no one brags about how much you smoke. If you do, you're a noob. It's important to remember and respect that everyone's experience with cannabis is different. Don't make beginners feel bad for being a lightweight, and don't shame alcohol drinkers for their preference that don't include weed. That's just you. Stigmas. Lastly, it's our job as a cannabis community to help leave all stigmas about cannabis and its users in the past. Mrs. Weedman, what's one of our mantras?
Stomp the stigma.
Free the plant. We are not lazy, nor are we ambitionless. If you follow the above tips, you're ready to do great things for our modern cannabis space. You're leading by example with beautiful accessories, clean smokeware, and eagerness to explore different consumption methods that maintain your lung health. The last thing we need in 2023 is people feeding into stereotypes and stigmas that cannabis does more harm than good. If you're passionate about helping the community evolve, ask yourself what you could do better. Trailblazers like you can lead by example and showcase what it means to use cannabis in a modern day. So I read this article because I agreed with about 42.20% of it. But I agree with some of it. Just the accessory thing, of course. You know, I mean, some people have their things they've been smoking out of for years. It's their tradition. It's what stoners, burners, and potheads have routines. Now, some of them are bad and some of them are great. Like not cleaning your bong, your whatever you smoke out of. Even dumping your ashtray out like at least every couple of days. Okay, I don't think that's the person smoking cannabis. That's just a lazy person. I'll always say that. Right?
Right.
You're not a fucking lazy person. You smoke weed?
Right. We talk about that all the time.
All the time.
They're just old cliches that
Right.
have to do with the war on drugs. So we got to just work part of your 2023. Talk about cannabis more.
Right.
Because we can't stop the stigma.
And also know your audience.
Yeah.
If you're around people...
But sometimes you need to have the conversation around people who you wouldn't expect to have the conversation with.
Yes, that's great.
You might introduce it
but
or open their mind to it.
If they're not engaged and they're totally turning their back,
yeah.
you got to know your audience.
I mean, you don't want to... Yeah, there's no reason
Right.
to stir the pot and make somebody annoyed.
Right.
But
And then they'll be like, oh, that was fucking... They'll just be like, those people, those weed
people,
smokers.
and they're drug addicts.
Right. So know your audience, know how to talk about it, know how to answer questions, you know, and just fuck it. Just smoke a lot of weed in front of them and they'll eventually get it.
Or
they'll
not.
ask you for a hit. And it'll be like, oh, can I finally try that? I've been asking.
Probably
Been
not.
watching you smoke for 20 years. Can I finally try it? Yes. Yes, you can. Finally try it. And then walk them through it. Stomp the stigma. Right?
Right.
So, Mrs. Weedman, going into 2023, you got anything else to say?
Make it a good year. It's you just covered a lot of stuff. Do you want me to get like super philosophical?
I want
here?
you to fucking say your last words
My last words. Am I dying?
of 2023 for the show.
I'm teasing. 2023. I'm just looking for a better year. 2022 is all right. 2023.
You started a business in 2022
I know.
You
And it was just kind of the year blew by. It was just
because
like
you were
head in
working
the
hard.
sand. Work.
You were nonstop.
Work.
Right.
So 2023 will be even more work because we only really got our feet wet. Just keep working. Smoke some weed. I don't know. Enjoy life. Stomp the stigma. Free the plant. Talk about weed. Don't talk
Educate.
about weed.
And
smoke
free.
some weed. Don't smoke some weed. I don't. Just be good people. Be a good human. Damn it.
Oh man, everybody out
that's
there
all.
in the world, we thank you for listening. Got a lot of big things happening in 2023. We're super stoked about new partnerships, new friendships, the Grow Hour, the Chronicles. Mrs. Weedman's fucking wants to take Mr. Weedman on a fucking psychological bus tour and get people to pay me 5 cents to me ask me any
Stop.
questions.
Don't tell my good ideas to the world. Don't.
We got some big plans.
We have some ideas.
Some great partnerships and some old partnerships. So I appreciate all the friendships, the cannabis community, the people that have been with us since day one. That, you know, when we started this thing in 2018, you know, holding up a legalize it sign by the Bean, you know, and making the video to start, and then decided on a stony baloney night to do a podcast, and we started the podcast, right?
Right.
And everybody left, and COVID hit. Holy shit. Are we going to do this? Yes. Another year. Boom. We're at 130 episodes. Going into 20. This is 130 right now. We're moving forward. Right?
Moving. Shaking.
Goals.
Going.
Set some good goals. You know? Just fucking write them down. Think about them. You got a couple days. You know? Just every year you get to start fresh. Fresh weed. Fresh goals. Fresh life. Leave the past behind. Can't do nothing about it. It's gone.
You can really do that on any Tuesday
I know,
or Wednesday
but
of the week.
but everybody's
or
it's
Thursday,
a new
Friday,
year.
Saturday.
You did it.
Sunday.
Whatever.
But January 1st is a great day to do it.
It's just a day that you're just gonna relax.
It is.
Write
Well,
down
New
your
Year's
goals.
Eve.
Yeah, everybody out in the world, you know what? I appreciate y'all. Thank you for listening. Have a great 2023. Enjoy life. Drop the ball. Smoke a big fat doink. As Paulie always says, smoke smart. Puff, puff away.
Puff, puff, pass.